The Toronto Blue Jays signed another international prospect, so we'll break that down on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as some injury update to the top prospect, Ricky Tiedemann. He might be out, and he might be out for a while, so we'll have that and much more coming up next. What's going on, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And a bit of an earlier upload today because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was dozing off a little bit in our post-game video yesterday. And thankfully, Nick actually called me in the bottom of the ninth inning because I may have just slept right through it. So shout out to Nick. He keeps holding things down and keeps steering the ship in the right direction. But yeah, Nick, yesterday was a late night. Great result for the Blue Jays, but does not change the fact that it was late. It was even later for you. Yeah. And the Jays got the job done. They started off the road trip on the right foot here. And I didn't mention this yesterday because I wasn't necessarily thinking straight, but I think in a 7-game road trip, if you start off against a very good team like San Diego and you get a good result like you did last night, it could really propel you going forward, and it could create better team chemistry. You're going to be on the road for at least a week here. You're going to have to do everything together. You're going to go everywhere together, and that's how teams bond, and that's how teams build something special. And I know they had a 10-game road trip to start off the season, a lot of new faces, but they're more familiar with one another now. And that was a good result yesterday. And hopefully it can lead to a few more good results for the rest of this road trip. But Nick, we want to talk about some prospects, some signings, and Orelvis Martinez as well. We want to key in on him because he has just been mashing the ball in Buffalo. Hit another 2 home runs yesterday. I think he has 5 home runs in his last 7 games, something ridiculous like that. And he's just been tearing the cover off the ball. So fun to watch. And I know a player is closer to the big leagues when I see him start to get added in the multiple fantasy leagues that I'm in. His percentage keeps on climbing and climbing and climbing. And, it might be knocking on the big league door for the Blue Jays pretty soon.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go over today. And like you mentioned, the game, there'll be probably no post-game tonight, but definitely have you covered tomorrow. Before we get into it, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. And let's get into it, Peter. We'll start with the bad news, I guess, and it's Ricky Tiedemann. We still don't know for sure what it's looking like on his front regarding a timeline. But what we do know is this came out yesterday, and we saw that he was placed on the injured list due to left elbow discomfort. And said top Blue Jays prospect Ricky Tiedemann underwent an MRI yesterday after experiencing left elbow discomfort, which led to his placement on the 7-day IL. Club is still awaiting word back from the doctors. And obviously, when you hear elbow discomfort, you usually cringe a little bit. Tommy John, all these potential things. Not saying that's going to be the case with Ricky Tiedemann, but it definitely, who knows, really. And you look at his stats so far this season, he has a 5.63 ERA in 3 games, so he hasn't gotten the innings and the amount of innings that they have wanted to get him. That's the big thing this season, is innings. His health has been a major question for the past, really, since he's kind of 2 years ago when he came into the system. Ever since then, it's been a big issue getting his innings up. He obviously pitched 78 in 2022, and Shai Davidi went on, I don't know if it was Blair and Barker, I think it was, and he basically said that he doesn't think that it's going to be Tommy John and that it's trending in a very bad direction. But regardless, Ricky Tiedemann needs the innings, and he's been unable to get them. So that could lead to him maybe not even being ready for later on this season like we all expected at some point.
Yeah, well, the thing with Ricky Tiedemann is that he does need innings, and he has to be built up because he's simply not ready. And the most that he's ever thrown, I believe, is around like the 75 mark.
Yep.
So not much. And he's got to get more work in. There's no doubt about that. And this was going to be the year to do that because there's some uncertainty in the rotation. Alek Manoah, weren't sure what you were going to get from him. Haven't gotten anything out of him. Yariel Rodriguez has been a really nice surprise. He's a lot further along than some Blue Jay fans may have thought. So I think the Jays can hold it down in that 5th spot, at least for the time being. But he's probably on an innings limit as well, right? And he's probably not going to eclipse the 120, 150 inning mark. So you got to find ways to eat innings, and you got to find ways to get through ball games. And Ricky Tiedemann, I'm sure, was part of those plans. But it's looking like that's going to be put on hold here. And the number one thing is to get him healthy. He's had a very bad run of injuries here in the last couple of years, but it just keeps delaying his timeline further and further. And it sucks because we want to see his electric arm play in the big leagues, but doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. And the command wasn't good this year either. He only threw 8 innings, but 9 walks in those 8 innings. So that's not a good number. Obviously, we know the strikeouts are going to be there. We know that he's going to find ways to get outs in that regard, but 10 walks per nine, that's not going to play at any level in professional baseball. So he's got to iron those control issues out, and he's got to figure out this injury, because every time he starts to make some progress, there's something new that happens, and something new that gets injured with Ricky.
Yeah, and hopefully this doesn't end up being a big problem going forward. I mean, it's been a problem now for a little bit. Luckily, though, we have Yariel Rodriguez, who's kind of stepped into that fifth starter spot. And if he can get built up, because the depth right now, Wes Parsons gone, Mitch White gone, Ricky Tiedemann, who's supposed to figure in, is questionable. So, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on that. And, Peter, let's touch on now Orelvis Martinez being insane. We had a video on him 2 days ago, and since then he's exploded even more. And I don't even know what to say. He might force himself. I mean, our video is titled that. He's going to force himself on the team, and it's really playing into that way for Orelvis Martinez. As you can see now, he is now homered in 3 consecutive games, 4 of the last 5. He could play his way into being a legitimate option here soon. He still has rough edges. He has 5 errors, Peter, in minimal innings at second base. When you're looking at his bat and his stats, that will play 1,000 OPS, 16 games, 5 home runs. It seemed like not too long ago, Dan Shulman was on the Blue Jays a couple series ago saying how Orelvis doesn't have any home runs, and now he's up to 5 home runs on the season. He's crazy, and he might force himself onto this team. The question is, for who? There's way too many infielders and whatever on the team, but I don't know. They might have some decisions to make over the next couple weeks here, months, depending how long, but he is absolutely mashing.
Yeah, there's a lot of infielders on the roster right now, but not many that have the power that Orelvis Martinez does. So yeah, there's a logjam there, but there's a lot of like guys that are very similar archetypes as players. Kevin Biggio, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Ernie Clement, those guys are all similar in terms of contact ability, getting on base, and they're not going to provide much in the power department. So Orelvis Martinez would add a whole new wrinkle to this team. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, we know the swing and misses there. We know that maybe the plate discipline is not where it needs to be for him to compete at the big league level. But still, like you can't deny his output so far. And he's just been so good. He's getting better and better. And yeah, he's forcing the hand. He's forcing the Blue Jays' hand here. There's no doubt about it. So I wouldn't be shocked if he comes up by the mid-season mark, or even in the next couple of weeks if he.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm very curious to see what they do with him, because obviously the biggest thing is the fact that he's an infielder, and you look at the stats there, he's had up and down for the past few years. Obviously, this year is his breakout, only 16 games. But to be honest, that's a pretty big sample size to be hitting 1,000 OPS. We'll have to see if it continues. He has around an 800 OPS throughout the rest of the season there. But one quick thing before we do wrap up. Let us know your thoughts on Orelvis. Before we wrap up, Peter, this is going to be very quickly. Oh, wrong one. The Jays have made an interesting signing. I don't even know if it's interesting because I don't really know anything about him, but we're going to throw it up there because it's any move the Jays make at this point is who could be interesting going forward, Peter. They signed Manny Ramirez from Australia, not to be mixed up with the 48-year-old Manny Ramirez. But Peter, the Jays made an interesting one, and the reason we're showing this is because I wouldn't be surprised if in 4 years from now somehow this guy makes his way into the top 10 prospect list for the Blue Jays, just because of how good they are at scouting prospects internationally from all over the world. I couldn't find too much on him, but Peter, do you have any thoughts on this, or maybe he'll live up to the Manny Ramirez name?
Yeah, well, I mean, just his name alone should get him into the top 10 prospects. Doesn't matter if he's hitting 091 in his first season in rookie ball. Like, yeah, that's a big time
Bring
name.
him up.
Obviously, don't know much about him, but hey,
Yeah.
let's hope he pans out. You gotta fill out a bunch of rosters. That's one thing that we gotta remember here. So even if he doesn't play at the big league level, he's gonna contribute in the organization in some capacity, whether it's in A ball, double A ball. Like he's gonna find a place there. I'm sure. I don't even know what position he plays, but I wish him all the best. And hopefully we are talking more about him in the near future, or even in the distant future, because That's cool. Having a Manny Ramirez in your lineup doesn't matter which Manny Ramirez it is. It always sounds nice and it's aesthetically pleasing. So I'll take it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get some more information on this signing once it becomes official. But yeah, that'll wrap it up. Let us know your thoughts on all this. Hopefully, the Jays can take care of business again, as I believe it's a bullpen day for the San Diego Padres, and we have Jose Barrios, the best starter in baseball. I'm proclaiming it now. And yeah, hopefully they can take care of business. If you want to check out our video from yesterday, the late night video, click on your screen now, and we will see you tomorrow. And hopefully the Jays can take care of business tonight against the Padres.